All
There
right,
you are.
guys. Welcome to the webinar, guys. My name is Sean Mathis. I am the CEO and founder of Insurance Lead Genie and Agency Alliance and Surefire Digital Media. We've got a few things going on. Actually started my career as an insurance agent with Liberty Mutual. Did quite well there. Actually, I started with State Farm and then started my book with Liberty. And right there's my rookie of the year plaque. I did just over 700 items and $1 million of new business premium of personal production. And let me get that turned off. We've got some feedback there. I think, Brian, you might need to turn your computer speakers down just a little bit. But I did just over.
Sorry, go ahead.
700 policies and $1 million of new business premium my rookie year. And actually, it's not you. It's a phone call here. I muted. There we go. So did that for 3 years, remained in the top 5 in the country. Number 2 in Texas. There was a guy that had been there 15 years who I just could not catch up to. He had quite a referral base built up. But nonetheless, did pretty well. And it was all through learning how to generate my own lead, learning how to market. Where is that coming from? Phone caller. Who is that? I'm sorry, guys. Somebody needs to get muted. And I can't find them. If you guys would just mute yourself out, that would be fantastic. All right. We're getting some feedback there. Okay. And everything that I did was self-sourced. You know, I started out the first 6 months like most of you guys probably either did or are experiencing now. Internet leads, cold calls, going to networking meetings, B&I groups, chamber events, whatever, you name it. I did it. And after beating my head against the wall for 6 months trying to figure out a better way, I finally turned to this thing called digital marketing. And that's where I really started exploding things. So enough about me, just so that you know who I am. I'm super excited here today to have Brian. Brian, I've known Brian for about 6 years now, just shortly after he started with Allstate. He was a young hustler looking for innovative ways to grow his agency as well. He'll kind of share his story of how he ended up working with me. But it's been really fun watching Brian grow. He started at 40 some policies, 40 items or so a month by the time I met with him. And he's a very how should I say, he's a very modest guy. And I actually just found out what a stud he was just a couple of days ago when actually talking with somebody else in New York who I was just demoing our systems, and they saw his name and they're like, wait, I know that name. And they just, hold on, wait, stay right there. Looked him up and they're like, this guy, he wrote 128 new auto just in February, just auto. Like, how is he doing that? I said, well, that's what we're here to help you do. And so I hit Brian up and I was like, dude, you're killing it. What is going on? And Brian's from New York. So those of you that don't know, he's an agency owner in New York. That's one of the most competitive markets in the country. I don't know if you've ever sold. If there's anybody here in New York, you can probably attest to that. But I wanted to see, have Brian share with you guys, because with everything going on, economically and with the coronavirus, people are freaking out. It's just a very unique time. And I want to just share a few things, not just on that, but in general, how Brian, grew, because he hit all of those stages. I had a conversation yesterday with a guy who is in a very similar situation that we see from new agents. When they start, you get to focus on sales. There's no service. You just get to make money, and it's awesome. But then after about a year, you start getting those service calls, those renewals. My rates went up, lost my ID cards, want to add a car, just bought a new car, buying a house. And you got to manage that with sales. And then you got to look at hiring. And at some point, the scalability thing starts happening where people struggle to say, where I need to scale. I know I need to do more, but financially, I don't know what to do. It sounds like I got to cut something. If I cut my marketing to hire my person, then I don't have leads to give them to work. And if I pay them a salary and, I cut off the leads, my sales go down. And it's just like a tricky spot. And most agents honestly stay. They stay around that 30 to 40 policies a month mark. And what we want to do is figure out how agents get over that hump, and how do you begin to scale? What does it take to get there? What steps you have to take? So we'll just jump in. Brian, thank you for your time and being with us. And we'll be quick, guys. We'll try to keep it right around 30, 45 minutes. But let's just first address what's going on right now with the coronavirus. Tell us about how New York is handling it. I think you guys have one of the more aggressive states of lockdown, how they're handling it, but how your team's handling it, and then how's it affecting your business, and what are you doing right now?
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it. Thanks for the intro. Hello, everyone. Hope you all are doing well and staying safe out there, washing your hands a lot. Yeah, it's been, this thing is, it's just been really, it's crazy. It's just changed overnight. Everyone's pretty much confused about what to do. So New York just announced that, statewide, non-essential businesses employees must just stay home. So 100% of the workforce that's in non-essential businesses kind of have to stay home. So we've been prepared for this since last week. All of my employees are already equipped to work from home. So we literally, they don't like working on laptops, so they just unplugged their desktops and took their dual monitors. We have VoIP phones. They took the phones and they're all set up. They're all ready to go. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be, I've made a commitment to continue to pay my employees. I can't really afford to let anyone go once this all gets better. So, we're biting the bullet and making sure that they get paid. But at the same time, I'm not going to pay them to not, to do nothing. So at home, they're going to be working. So what we've done is, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Zoom, video conferencing. So I've just, we've used Zoom for our team meetings. I have 3 locations. So, we don't all get to be in the same place at the same time, especially now. So, and these are pretty new locations. 2 of them are fairly new to me. And I have some new employees. So, I like everybody to be in one place at one time so I can do my training and coaching and do everything and make sure they're excited and ready to go. But we can't necessarily do that physically. So we've been incorporating Zoom into our, weekly meetings for really the past few months. And what we're going to be doing with Zoom, it allows you to just be logged in. So everyone's going to log into Zoom starting Monday. And that's it. We're going to just work as if we're in the office together. It's going to allow me to kind of track and monitor a little bit, more of what they're doing. And I'm not a very hands-on person anyway. Most of my employees are very independent. I trust them, and I know that they're going to do their work. So I'm not necessarily doing that to say, oh, are you making your calls? Or are you following up with your leads? That's just going to be so, you're not working alone. It's pretty lonely when you're working alone. So that's what we have planned. Everyone's going to be logged into Zoom. This way they have access to me, my other employees. They need help with the policy. They have questions that they can't just run in here and ask me questions anymore, but I'll be right there. So any questions come up, we'll be able to take care of it. So that's our plan. Everyone is already at home. They're already working from home. We saw a dip in our production this week, which was to be expected with everything that's going on. But, right now, what's going to help us a lot, and Sean knows this, we've increased our flow with Lead Genie, which we'll talk about later. But in New York, there's something called a Nuisance Act. So during a state of emergency, you're not allowed to pick up the phone and call prospects anymore. I think from what I know, it's anyone that you haven't really dealt with over the past 90 days. And for my agency, we work a lot with X dates. We have a lot of new leads coming in, but we don't really care if we close them now or not. What we care about is our X dates, those old leads that we've been mining for years. We know those accidents are falling off. We know those tickets are falling off. We know the advice we gave them when we couldn't write it before, that they took those advice and now they're going to be good and we're going to be competitive. So technically right now in New York, if I have someone that's been X dated 6 months out, there's a bit of a gray area there whether we can call them or not. So we're using Lead Genie to drop campaigns to them, emails, drip campaign, text messaging, and kind of have them start to interact with us. And if they reach out to us and they're looking for help, or they, visit our website, or they send us a direct message or whatever, then we know we got them. So we don't have to worry about those telemarketing laws. So yeah, that's pretty much our plans on this whole new way of doing business. The world's coming to an end kind of stuff.
Good.
But, all of my employees are going to be working. They're all going to be logged into Zoom. If you guys haven't looked at that, I would suggest you take a look at Zoom. It's very inexpensive, and you can have your whole team on it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much going to be our plan there.
They got a free version too.
Right.
So I would not
Right.
recommend GoToWebinar, which is what we're on now. It's very expensive.
Right.
It's marginally successful. But no, that's a great idea. I haven't heard anybody say that they're doing that. I've got some where you've got, I've called agents where the person answering the phone is at home, the agent is actually at the office, and that leaves kind of a bit of a disconnect of not knowing if the agent's available. So,
Right.
miss times and miss some sales opportunities that way. I would think having that connection, then she'd be able to know, oh yeah, he's good to go. Let me send you over. I know you might have chat or something like that too, but not having to pick up the phone and call, just having the Zoom, I think is awesome, because then you could just unmute yourself and talk.
Right. Exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. The one thing about this whole virus that I'll say is, to my knowledge, you still have to have insurance. They didn't do away with it.
Right.
I think some companies have maybe put in place hardship of hey, we'll give you an extra week or two on your payment or something like that. But they still have it. And I think right now, people are going to be more accessible. Now, the problem is, how can you access them with these types of laws in place where you're not supposed to telemarket them? So I certainly wouldn't turn off your advertising. And you got to be careful with what lead providers you use, because sometimes those leads weren't actually leads. That person may not have filled out
Right.
request. They may have filled out a chance to win a four-wheeler in the middle of the mall. And
Right.
So you got to be careful with what you're doing marketing wise. But I would say that you want to keep that going, and like Brian said, if you have a system in place that can get your customers reaching out to you and engaging with you, like we have live chat working out on all of our websites, all the clients' websites that are using Lead Genie. So now when somebody hits your website, you can now reach out and just say, hey, notice that you were looking at taking a look at your auto insurance rates. Can we help you? We've got time to chat. So there's a lot of options like that you can and should look into, and this is a perfect time. And contact rates should go up because people are at home, and they should be receptive to wanting to save some money, if you ask me.
Right.
But Brian, how did you? Let's talk about the getting over the hump of scaling. That there's folks that kind of get stuck in that middle ground of either one agent, a part-time staff, or a full-time staff, and they really need that next person. They need more sales, but they also need service work.
Right.
Where do you go? Do you hire a salesperson and have them do sales and service? Do you hire a service person and to free yourself up to do more sales? I mean, it's always going to be, there's a lot of variables, but in general, how do you get past that? Because a lot of it is just fear of I don't have enough leads. What if I bring them
Right.
on and they don't pay for themselves as a salesperson? Um, a lot of fear and people get stuck. What is your advice on scaling?
So, I mean, you've heard a brief history of how I got started with Allstate, but I'll give you guys the gist of it. So it was in 2014. I had 6 tax offices, and it was a seasonal business. It was great. I was working 4 months out of the year, no big deal, and it was fun. I had all the free time in the world. But I got married. My wife was like, "Well, what do you do for 8 months?" I'm like, "Well, go to the gym or something. I don't know." Essentially, I was looking to pretty much supplement my income for those tax offices. I was just looking for a way to just pay rent for the rest of the year for the office. And I looked into the insurance business because I figured it was like, it kind of goes hand in hand. It was the next best thing. And I tried to go the independent route. It was damn near impossible to get an appointment with no insurance experience or a book of business. So at the time, someone came to me and they were like, "Yeah, Allstate's paying 43% commissions." And I was like, "Wow, that sounds a lot. I know everybody else pays like 10." And this was in 2014 on their ADB contract. So I reached out to them, and basically it was I was like, "Wow, it's true. They're paying 43% in commissions. That's insane." So I started scratch with Allstate, no insurance experience, and it was great. We just reached out. The way we started was kind of like reached out to everyone Hey, who are you insured with? Give me an opportunity to quote your business, and kind of took off like that. I didn't really necessarily take the business seriously. It was kind of more like a side hustle for me at the time, until I started making more money from one Allstate agency compared to 6 tax offices. And I'm like, okay, I'm in the wrong business. And at that point, I was slowly getting rid of my tax offices and kind of focusing solely on the Allstate. So we built about a $2 million book within about 1.5 to 2 years. And that was mainly done on just talking to everybody that I knew, like everyone that we knew, that we started doing different types of marketing, types of leads. That was about the time that I found Sean, and we were running these Facebook ads, and that was killing it for us. I mean, it was like a 90% contact rate, and quote rate was amazing, and the close rate was good. So we did pretty much everything at that point. But what I did was, from the beginning, I didn't build my agency, I didn't build the agency around me. I didn't want the business to have to depend on me per se. So like, if I don't show up, I wanted things to just go on. So the people that I hired, most of them are still, some of them are agency owners now, and some of them are still with me. I kind of from the beginning, I've kind of delegated and took a step back and just managed the business. So right now, what I do, I don't sell policies. I don't do any servicing. Not that I can't or I won't. I will if I have to, but it's not my priority. My priority is managing the business and growing the business. So what I find, a lot of people can't grow their business because they're too deep in it. So if you're handling your sales calls or your service calls, you're not going to have time to look at ideas or, think about the next step to grow it or get bigger or hire that next person, because you're too busy doing the day-to-day. And if you've been busy doing the day-to-day for a really long time, it's going to be hard to take yourself out of that. So that's a big holdup for people when it comes to growth, is that most people that I see and that I work with, that I help, have kind of built the business on their back. And they're too entrenched in it that they can't get out of it to now, get a vision for growth. So that's important. I think we're hitting a reset button here. I think the economy, is going to be a little shaky for the next few months, but I think this downtime can give us some time now to think of where do we want to go with our business. the thing is with the insurance business, it's a great business, but if you're not growing, you're shrinking, right? They said what the average retention? Well, in New York, average retention here is about 90%. So if I do nothing, I'm going to lose 10% year over year. So within 5 years, I'll be pretty much half of where I used to be today. So I want to not shrink by that 10%. I want to grow by 10, 15, 20%. And for me to be able to do that, I have to step outside of it to figure out what's next. So that's going to be hiring more people, getting more leads, getting more names and numbers to talk to. So that's my advice. If you want to grow, then you have to kind of take yourself out of your business. Don't what's the saying? I have all sayings for everything. Work in the business, or don't work in the business, work on the business, kind of thing. Does that make sense to you, Sean? So I lost your audio there. I can't hear you.
There you go. It's hard to see the picture inside the frame, they say.
Pretty much.
I did a presentation or a webinar interview with Grant Cardone a couple years back. Great webinar. If you guys want access to that, just drop your email in the comments. I'll send that over to you. We talked about scaling and we really talked about culture in his office, and I went to his office. We did a deal. We had a program in 2016 together, a joint venture that we did called the Agency Alliance Insurance University, which I think Brian was a part of. And I handled the marketing, he handled the sales training. And so when going to his office, he had a culture of winning. And so I wanted to like interview on that of like, how do you have that? Because morale is a huge important factor of being able to grow your team, and one bad egg can like cancer. And Brian has some really great morale in his office as well. And I think that's really important of understanding how to be a team leader, and knowing your strengths and building your team around your strengths, and being willing to delegate, and not having to have your hands on everything. I know it's scary to let go of like, hey, I've done the sales all this time. I don't trust this person that is going to sell as good as I am. And so I don't want to put them in that place. But at some point you have to be able to distance yourself and trust your team to do the job. And then I think a lot of it comes down to systems and processes that I think you have to have in order to scale. You got to leverage technology. You got to be able to automate as much as you can. I was talking with an agent who is kind of in this predicament right now of like, hey, I've got to make a decision on either hiring somebody new and going through that pain of getting them licensed, moving this person, or doing something because I'm stuck right now. And I was like asking about his day, and I said, you need more automation. Like you can have, your marketing can set appointments for you, right? Like I come in every week with appointments. My calendar is full every week. And I have a person whose job is to do nothing but work our leads and fill my calendar. I still do sales calls because I enjoy them. I enjoy the sales calls. And every day and every week, my calendar is packed. And so I know when I'm coming in, I'm not wasting my day chasing people around. And if you are going to be selling, nothing against it, you have to have a way that you can come in and be selling. An agent's time, business owner's time spent prospecting is terrible time spent. So you just got to understand that your marketing and people shouldn't cost you money. You shouldn't look at that as an expense. I think it's a mindset shift that you have to have. And Grant talks about this of like, dude, your employees make you money. They don't cost you money. Otherwise, if they're costing you money, fire that employee. And agents are scared to death to fire people. I see so many agents holding on to dead weight that they know they need to let go. They know they need to let go. I had to make that decision not too long ago. The reason I'm back on sales calls is because I had to let a couple people go. But, as a result, I've spent the last month doing 15-hour days. So, but it is what it is, and you gotta make long-term decisions. And I knew long-term that wasn't going to work, so I needed to make that move. So let me see. I think we've had a couple of questions come through here. Let me make sure. Somebody having trouble joining. Hey, listen, if you're still having trouble joining, there'll be a webinar replay link that I'll email you guys. Last thing, Brian, before we get off here, what advice do you have for agents for 2020 to finish strong? We're almost through Q1. And I talk to probably 100 to 150 agents a month, and I get a lot of details about them, ask a lot of questions, really kind of understand. And I'm seeing agents right now who I've talked to in the past who are in the same boat they were the year before. And it's just more of the same over and over and over again. My philosophy, before I let you answer, my theory is right now and over the next, not just 2020, but over the next 5 years, that if you don't make some massive changes in the way that you operate your insurance business, from marketing to sales to operations, and adapt and be willing to change with everything that's changing around us, and really change your mindset, then you should either sell your book if you have anything worth selling, because there's guys who see the opportunity and will buy it, or get out of the business because you're going to die a slow, painful death that you don't need to die. It's unnecessary. Right now in this market, you should not be struggling. You should not. There's just no reason, because there are so many agents not doing the right things, still doing what they did 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And there's a massive opportunity right now for either young agents like Brian who come in and say, hey, I'm willing to step outside the box and do things different, and capture this market share. Millennials are the largest market share on the planet, if you weren't aware of that. They have more spending power than anybody else on the planet. But reaching those millennials is completely different than it was baby boomers and preceding generations. And it's only going to get more difficult, because I look at my younger brother who's 21 years old. He doesn't give a shit about insurance. He doesn't give a shit about insurance. In 5 years, 10 years from now, still won't give a shit about insurance. So we have to do our job as insurance agents to really dig ourselves out of this hole, by presenting the value-driven information that you need to present. You got to find a way to get that message out there. Compliance will prevent you from doing that in a lot of ways if you're captive, but there are ways that you can do it as a captive agent. But it's gut check time right now, guys. Next 5 years, if you don't change and you think you're going to do more of the same and it's just going to start working again, you're wrong. You're going to fail. That's just the bottom line. Brian, what's your advice though? That's the problem as I see it. What is your plan? What are you going to do?
So, I'm not worried about the industry. I'm worried right now for the moment, but everyone on this call, if you own a book of business, you count yourself lucky. I have friends that own restaurants, and overnight they're done. They can't pay rent. They can't pay employees. That's it. They're screwed. Not everybody's going to cancel we're going to lose some policies because of this, but odds are my income's not going to change that much because renewals are going to be coming in. So I had no idea about this business and how lucrative it is. And I'm lucky to be in it. And I think all of us on this call are lucky to be in it. I wish I'd done this 10 years ago. I'd probably be sitting on $20 million in premium or something. But, my plan to grow, for the year, I mean, and it's really, this is probably going to sound silly because we don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. But my biggest thing is, I focus on my people, because at the end of the day, I just steer the ship, right? They're the ones that are moving the parts. So that's the most important thing for me, is focusing on my people, making sure that they're happy, making sure that they're paid well, making sure that they have enough leads to work on. Now, it took me a long time to get the right, crew, but we have a very specific culture here, and we hire within that culture. If we bring someone in, and they don't fit our culture, we can't hire them. Like Sean said, it just takes one bad apple to, spoil the whole crop, or whatever the saying is. So we're very specific on who we want to work with, because these are going to be the people we spend a lot of time with. So we want, I want everyone to be happy to work with everyone around them. So I focus a lot on my people and making sure that they're good, making sure that they have access to the best resources, the best training. I'm here. I motivate them. They come to me all the time. And if I'm excited, they're excited, and they're doing what they got to do. So I trust them. And like I said, if they're happy and they're content and they're making money, they're going to continue to work, right? They're going to continue to work. They want their commissions. They want to get paid. And, in some ways, they feel obligated to the agency, because they're building something here. It's something that we're in it together. It's not about me, right? And all of my employees know that. So it's very important that, your people feel that they have respect from you, and that you appreciate what they do for you. And if you don't, then you probably have the wrong people. And I would start looking for good people that will fit your culture. Because we're all different, right? I run things differently than you run things differently in your agency. But my growth has come I'm not doing anything special. I'm doing a little bit of everything. But the one thing that I do is I make sure that everyone that works here is happy to be here. So that's important for your agency. And that's where you're going to see growth. If your employees are happy to come into work, they're motivating and encouraging each other, and they're there to support each other, business it's definitely going to come. Now, the one thing that, like I said, that we do a lot, we nurture our ex-dates. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of ex-dates. These are leads that we've bought in the past that weren't good, and we clean them up. We keep looking at them. We keep meticulous notes on them, and we document everything. So everything that we close now is something that's, we've touched in the past. We'll get a one-call close. We'll get a call in, from Google, and we'll close it. I don't count on that. I count what's already in my pot. That's what I nurture. That's what I continue to grow. It's like watering your plant. So, right now, the lead flow from all these companies, they're all going to dry up a little bit. We're not going to get a lot like we used to. You're not going to be able to call Quote Wizard up and, get tons of live transfers. So my plan for the next few months is going back to all of those old quotes we have stored up. And, I have enough employees, and I have a whole lot of leads that they have the time now that they can go through each one of them one by one and see what's happening. So that's what we plan on doing. We're still writing business. We're not writing as much as we were a week ago, but we're still closing deals. And, starting next week where everyone's at home, it's going to be a little interesting to see how this plays out, but I'm confident that we'll pull through and we'll get it done.
Yeah, thank you. I think next week, this week was crazy, the transition. I think now that people know whether they're going to be at home or at work, it's going to kind of settle down. We've got some questions that have been submitted, so I'm going to get to some of those and unmute some folks to get some questions answered. Andrew, I'm going to unmute you here. We got a question from Andrew, who can't remember what state Andrew's in, but
I'm in New York. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah,
cool.
This question was about hiring. What is
Yeah,
your
so I totally agree with you on the managing the business as opposed to being in the business in order to really get good growth and scale. I'm wondering what your approach is to how you find the team members that allow you to do that.
Yeah. So it starts with just finding that one good person. For me, I've had a manager with me from day one, and I made sure that he knew everything that I knew, and even more. And it got to the point where he knew more than I did. And you need that one good person that's gonna, kind of sound check you, because I have a different personality, he has a different personality, but we work well together. So I'm more broad, big picture. He's more finite details. So that's very important when it comes to business. I consider a kid like a partner. So, I don't do anything without consulting. But, I have a lot more stuff going on now, so I need that setup. You don't necessarily have to do that. But when it comes to hiring, I have one rule, and that's, and I did this for the region 2 years ago when they asked me about how do you hire. The one rule is I hire PhDs, right? That means not a degree. PhD, poor, hungry, determined. Those have been my best employees. My top producers right now are under 23. Literally off the street, no experience, no insurance experience. But I could tell that they have sales, not necessarily formal sales experience, but by their attitude and their personalities, I know that they can sell. So they can sell any product they want. I just have to teach them insurance. So that's what I look for. I look for that personality trait, that A-type personality. When you get an A-type personality that's a little older, they're not probably going to want to sell insurance. So these guys are going to be with me for a good couple of years. They're going to hit their ceiling. And they're either going to end up owning their own agency, which I'll gladly help them do. I've done that for 6 of my employees already. So, I bring them in young and I train them up, and, they're 22, 23. They're making more money than I was at 22, 23. And they're learning a really valuable life skill, right? What do they say? If you don't sell, you don't eat. Or if you know how to sell, you'll never starve. So that's what I look for. I look for, younger A-type personalities that you can coach and train. And as long as they're excited and they're motivated, which is your job, really. My job is to make sure that they're excited and motivated and they're happy. And that's what I do. That's why, I get them excited, man. So
Nice.
That's my advice when it comes to looking for people. I see a lot of agents, they look for folks with industry experience. I think that's not that I just haven't had good luck with that. I've hired other, licensed producers, and there's a reason why they're looking for a job. I mean, I've had success with some, but they were just coming from really bad offices, and it wasn't anything of their fault. But it turned out they worked well. I've also hired licensed producers that's been licensed for 15 years, and they came in like, yeah, I write 50 items a month, and they write one policy in 2 months. So, we have a pretty stable crew. And again, another thing that I do, which if you don't, I think it'll be helpful for you, depending on how close you are with your staff. When I bring in someone for an interview, I interview them first. And I actually I have them sit with all of my employees and they have conversations with them. Nothing formal. And when we're done, my employees will tell me what they feel about that person, if they want to work with them. And if they say yes, what we do is we bring them into the office to spend about 4 hours. I pay them to just come to the office to hang out with us, see how we work, see what the day-to-day is. And if they come in and they're excited and they like it, it's good. And my employees like it and they agree, we hire them. And if they don't, we don't hire them.
Awesome. Thank you. We got another question in here. Let's see. We've got Matthew. He says, for leads right now, if you were to try to create a new market from an agency that relied on referral and face-to-face for the entire time, what would you suggest that we write about 1.3 million a year, but the next few months scare us? So I'll bring Matthew on and see if we can know a little bit more. And I've heard this actually from there's a couple of life companies out there whose whole business model is face-to-face appointments.
Right.
That's what they've done. Like they do mailers and then they go sit down at kitchen tables, which nothing against that. I know some guys who make some good money with that. What do you do? Matthew, do you have audio?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Good question, man. Yeah. Are you a life agent?
I do life on the side, but I'm a PNC agent.
Okay. What
I
state?
started, just a background on me, I started with Allstate actually, with them for about 4.5 years. Agent was $7,000 a month in just leads. Then I got into the independent world, and I've been in the independent world, and we've totally gone to just face-to-face and referral based, and I'm trying to get our agency kind of get back into that other world, at least for the time being, and that's where the struggle is. We've never done leads in the past. We've never done anything like that. I've got experience in it, but the agency owners don't. So what would you suggest being a newer agent in the business, where to start with that?
My suggestion for that is you're gonna have a hard time buying leads at the moment because the flow is not going to be there, and that's going to go to the highest bidder because everyone's going to be kind of like looking to get these leads. So a lot of these lead companies, they generate their leads either from a telemarketing campaign or some sort of life transfer, and then they sell it to a pay per lead if they can't pass it off. So the flow, even for stuff that we're buying, it's just dried up. So like I said, what we're planning on doing is we're going to hit up our old database. So you should have tons of saved quotes. I'm sure you don't write everybody that you sit with, face to face. I would definitely go back and mine those saved quotes that you have pretty much in your database. I mean, do you have that? Do you have saved quotes in there?
We have some. I wouldn't say we have a large number, simply because
Right.
the way the agency worked in the past.
Gotcha.
It's a family-owned agency that's been around for 80 some years, and until the last 5 years or so, then they've started to really inundate the new softwares and things like that. I've worked with like coal estates and things like that, and aged leads and things like that. Is that something you could see being very successful right now, as far as at least for contacts information and like you said, having all our employees?
Where are you? What state are you in?
Michigan.
Do you know what the rules are around telemarketing in a state of emergency?
I have never heard that we have a thing on that, but I would have to look into it before.
Yeah, I would look into. I mean, New York. It's New York. They have rules for everything here, but we have rules around that. If you don't have rules around that, I mean, man, I would get those age leads and just plug it into a dialer and everyone's home. So, if you're not restricted from doing that, heck, you're going to learn on the go. If you've never done it, then I would totally do that. I wish we didn't have those rules. We'd be doing that because everybody's home. My wife's home. I'm sure she'll be glad to pick up a phone call. It's probably driving her nuts. So, we have specific rules there, but if you don't, and you don't have enough old leads to work on, I would totally do that.
Yeah, Matt, and we've got you've got a unique situation coming up. What is it, in June or July?
July 2nd.
July 2nd. I've got a couple of agents in Michigan, getting prepared on the offensive for that role. That's going to be a huge, huge opportunity. So right now, if you go the age lead route, there's a million places to get them from. I can send you some links to some places of agents that I know that have vouched for them. Basically out of that, the best thing you're going to look for is that the data is accurate. We've got some at insuranceleadgenie.com, I think /leads. But if you can telemarket, you can absolutely go that route. But then what I would start doing with that list, if you can get 1,000, however much you can afford, typically 50 cents a buck, you get a couple thousand of those, and then you can put them into a system, like the Lead Genie, or if you have some sort of an automation system, and start prepping them, start cultivating them, so that by the time April 15th hits, you have a pipeline that's just massive that you can reach out to, and you can play both the offensive and the defensive side there, because just the same as you're going to be going after everybody else's customers, they're all coming after yours. So you can kind of put your, I would say, try to figure out, automating one of the other, either automate the offensive process or automate the defensive process as much, to like have people go ahead and letting them know, because the company's going to mail them, but nobody opens that shit. But if you can send out emails and text messages and have people automatically book appointments, if you do want the review with you, make sure they get that review before they go somewhere else. Let that take care of itself. Or the other option might be, hey, we'll have a couple people that'll play defense, and then we'll start offense. But you need to start offense early with the cold list to start building that reputation, building that automation, building that engagement up.
Sounds good. I appreciate it, guys.
You got it.
Let's see if we have any more, and then we've got time for one more, and then we are out. Appreciate you guys' time. Let's see. Yep, I think that's it right now. So I appreciate your time, Brian. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you. Thank you,
A
guys.
lot of good insight there. We covered a lot of ground, so I'll let this buffer, and then for those of you that registered, we will send this out back for a replay for you, so you can check back with it. I'll put Brian's email in there if you have any questions for him, so you can reach out to him. But appreciate you guys' time. Brian, again, appreciate your time as always, helping the group.
Of course.
We've just been getting a ton of questions and a lot of chatter in the group, so I just figured we'd bring a top performer in here to kind of share their insight. And then, if you guys, on here, if you guys have some value that you can bring to the table, we'd love to have the opportunity to, to share that with the group as well. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.